Guys, I'm going to say it plain. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse for one Joseph Raisinette Biden. This is wild. So we have a new poll that just came out. Trump now leads among Hispanics and young voters. Guys, I don't know how to impress this upon you, but that is game, set, match. That is like literally, there's no hope for Biden in that scenario. In a scenario where there's an election and he loses young people and he loses Hispanics. Former President Trump leads President Biden among Hispanic and young voters, a new survey found. The survey conducted by USA Today and Suffolk University. So it's a legit polling outlet. This isn't some like random far-right, polling outlet. Found that heading into a critical election year, Biden trails with several of the key demographics that help him win the White House in 2020. Biden earned 34% support among Hispanic voters surveyed, compared with Trump's 39%. Trump has more than Biden. A plurality, not a majority, but he has more than Biden. That marks a large decline since 2020, when Biden earned 65% of the demographic group. Guys, it's almost cut in half. It's almost cut in half. What do we wait, is it 30 plus 30 is 60? 60 plus 8 is 68. Yeah, it's almost cut in half. What are we talking about here? The president has also lost support from black voters. That's like a core Democratic voting bloc. After carrying 87% support in 2020, Biden now has just 63%. His support from younger voters has dropped as well. In 2020, Biden crushed Trump by 24 points among the group. But the survey found that Trump now leads among voters under 35 with 37% support to Biden's 33%. So he's now 4 points down with young people when he was 24 points up in 2020. Young progressives have been disappointed that Biden has not taken more action on priorities such as climate change and voting rights. Student loan repayments resumed after his efforts to forgive a significant amount of debt were blocked by the Supreme Court. Biden's backing of Israel in its war with Hamas is also disliked by many younger Americans who are typically more sympathetic to Palestinians affected in the conflict. Wow. USA Today noted one bit of potentially good news for Biden. While he is losing support among these groups of voters, they tend to be going toward third-party candidates and not Trump. That is cold-ass comfort, dog. That is cold comfort, because at the end of the day, that means Trump would still win the election. Jesus. 20% of Hispanic and black voters surveyed and 21% of younger voters say they will support someone other than Trump or Biden. These numbers, these numbers are devastating. Okay, you're now at the point where it's like, even the hopes of a comeback are like, poof, gone. Okay, here you go. Hold on. I got another one for you. Steve Kornacki, the data guy at MSNBC, one of the few people on MSNBC we actually like. He's going to break down Biden's numbers here as well. Watch this.
How about the Democratic end of things? Joe Biden seems poised to be the Democratic nominee. What kind of year has he had politically? Well, again, he started 2023 coming off those good midterms for Democrats, and his approval rating, 46-50, wasn't that bad, but it's taken a hit this year. And as we start to close out the year, our final NBC poll had him at just 40% approval, 57% disapproval. How does this compare to past presidents entering their re-election year? Here you can see it. Here's the 40 that we have Biden at right now. These are all the final polls heading into the election year, re-election year that NBC conducted. You just see all the recent presidents. Look, Trump got beat in 2020. He was at 44 heading into his re-election year. Bush Sr. got beat in 92. He was at 52 and heading south rapidly there. But you see how that number compares. That's the lowest. That's the lowest in an NBC poll.
Guys, I have to reiterate that. Biden's approval is lower than Trump at this same point in his presidency. Obama, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, and George H.W. Bush. It's lower than everybody at this point in their presidency.
But it is a tight race when you poll Biden versus Trump at the start of the year. In the average of the polls nationally, Biden at a 2-point advantage. Now, at the end of the year, it is Trump who, on average, has a 2-point advantage here. It's a very, very close race, obviously. And what are the concerns of voters? The dynamics we'll be talking about if this race does materialize. Joe Biden, of course, is the oldest president ever at this point. And his his fitness, his age, about 3 in 4 voters in our poll say it's a major or moderate concern.
So, in other words, Trump's 91 criminal charges, him being found liable for fraud, and him being kicked off the ballot in certain states, that matters less to people than Biden's age and fitness. Now, look, you may disagree with that. I may agree with your disagreement. But this is how people feel. Oh my God, Donald Trump is the favorite to be president of the U.S. again. Even though he has 91 criminal charges, even though he was just found liable for fraud, even though he's kicked out off certain ballots, like, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
In 24 is going to be Trump's legal situation. Are there convictions? What goes on in the courtroom for him? 62% right now say that's a major or moderate concern for them. Would that number change if there's a conviction? Would that number change based on how these cases start to sort out? Big question, obviously, we'll be following well into 2024. And this is interesting, too. Just there is clearly what this ballot question is showing you here is matching Trump against just a generic Democrat. Trump loses sizably. Matching Biden against a generic Republican. Biden loses by double digits. It's just showing you broadly there's not a big appetite for Trump versus Biden.
Okay, hold on. Let's think about this for a second. So if it's not Trump that Biden's up against, a generic Republican is up 11 points on Biden. It's over. If it somehow magically becomes Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis, it is over. Joe Biden loses. On the Trump side, Trump is down massively to a generic Democrat. He's down 6 points to a generic Democrat. But again, let me reiterate that. Biden's almost double that. Biden's down 11 points to a generic Republican. But this does go to show you how much they are both despised.
Is poised to go in that direction. And that leads to this final graphic here. A poll from the Wall Street Journal recently. They included a bunch of third-party options. And against Biden and Trump, they added up to 17%. That's a big question heading into 2024.
Okay. So this one is wild. Biden's at 31%, Trump's at 37%, and a third party is at 17%, which is the highest we've been since Ross Perot for a third party. Now, it's a little more complicated than that. I don't know how many of the third party candidates or the independent candidates will actually get on the ballot in various states. So I do expect that 70% number to drop off quite a bit, maybe down to 8%, somewhere in that range, right? But either way, he's losing by 6 to Trump in this scenario. And understand the Democrat has to win the popular vote by like 4 points or more, 3-4 points or more in order to actually win the Electoral College. Because we've seen now a number of times, like Hillary won by 3 million votes against Trump. Didn't matter, Trump won the Electoral College, right? Biden had to win by 7 million votes to beat Trump in the Electoral College. Like, oh man. He's an albatross around our neck. There's no doubt about it. And everything he's doing recently is only hurting his chances to get reelected. When you lose Hispanics, when you lose young people, when you drop down to 63% with black voters, which is a key Democratic voting group, there's nothing to say, man. This is abysmal. He's got to go. He's got to go. Even like, put aside policy stuff. I've given him credit on some of the domestic policy things that he did. I agree with a lot of the domestic policy things he did. But it's beyond that, man. Trump has to be defeated. He's an authoritarian. He wants to do Project 2025, totally destroy the administrative state and the regulatory state, put total lackeys and loyalists in positions so they'll never say no to him ever. This is dangerous stuff, and they're playing with fire. And at the same time this is going on, what are they doing? 4 different states, the Democratic Party said, we're axing a primary. There's no primary. So they're going full authoritarian to protect Biden. What an unstable and horrific moment in history. I can't believe we're witnessing this happening. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.